Hello? Oh, if you can hear me, I'll try dialing back. I can't hear anything.
Hello?
Oh, I can hear you. I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear
Yeah.
you. Yeah, it's Skype always has these problems I've found. So, but once it settles out, we're fine. So you can hear me.
Yep,
Oh,
absolutely.
oh, good, good, good. Oh,
Right, lots to talk about. I've been trying to get a hold of you for a few weeks now,
mm,
and originally subject matter was to get you involved in these management meetings that are coming up on the 15th of September and the 6th of October.
mm.
One in Manchester, which is the one I wanted you to attend. And since my initial attempt to contact you, all this other stuff has come out of works, as it were.
That's right.
Some of
Yeah.
So I thought, well, okay, you seem to be quite active with regards to a few people. So I thought, well, I know who you are. You and I have met. We've talked before. So let's see if we can actually find out what the issues are that seem to have created all this. Well, the only word is complete shit.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. To be honest with you, I feel that you are being set up. I feel that you're being set up for a massive fall. I have been trying to protect you and keep your name out of the issues, but your name's starting to creep in, and people have joined you up with Brian. The issue is very clear. You are chairman of the British Constitution Group, and by you being chairman, that appointment has basically put you as a formal director, the highest company officer within the company of Brit Constitution Limited. As you are bankrupt, this places you in an extremely untenable position, and I don't think that you are fully mindful of what is going on. I have only just really woken up to this myself, and it is through actually the final straw, to be honest with me, was attempting to get you out of prison. And when I actually saw exactly what was going on, it was to be honest with you, um, it really really sits in your interest to distance yourself from Brian, and that's your choice. But um, Brian is in deeper than what he makes out. Way deeper. Whether he has done deep investigations and got co-opted or whatever, something has gone on, because he is not the same man that I met back in 2010. He is not. No two ways about it. The Brit Constitution Limited, as a registered company, places the full title of that organisation in the hands of the Crown, and I'm quite sure that once you realise that that's not a very good position.
Okay, well, let's stop right there. This is a classic example of where 2 and 2 is made to equal 25. And let me explain exactly the facts, because I'm the
Sure.
one who knows the facts, right? I set up the British Constitution Group in 2008.
Mm.
It was my initiative, and it was set up as the British Constitution Group. I then became involved in a number of other people, including Brian Gerrish and others, many of whom you know.
Yeah, yeah.
The prospects of hiring out the NEC in Birmingham, and they were talking a massive amount of money, 20, 30,000 pounds. Okay, none of us who could afford to risk that amount of money, but nevertheless, we decided that we wanted to go for the big one.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was decided to protect ourselves and members to set up a second group called Britcon Group Limited, purely and simply for the protection. That is not the British Constitution Group. If you doubt me, right, I can actually show you a second set of bank accounts for the British Constitution Group, and I can assure you, Chris, it is an entirely separate group altogether.
That's
So
it's not.
I am not.
It's not me you need to convince. Let's put it this way.
Well, no, Chris, no. With respect, at the moment, the The people who are right are certain people who we'll discuss in a moment. But the point is that the reality of the situation is that the British Constitution Group is a legitimate group. It is not a limited liability company, and the members of that group are not at risk, and the members of that group are in it for one thing and one thing only, and that is obviously the bigger picture, the New World Order.
Yeah,
that's the first thing.
Yeah, and that's why I got involved as well. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and that's where I want to take it. That's what I want to focus on. But this whole business about the BritCon Limited is somehow a crucial element. It's a complete irrelevance. It's a bloody red herring, and anything you care to put on it that was purely and simply designed to protect the financial interest of the initial people who were getting involved in the setting up of the group. Now, one thing that we have discussed, and the one thing I was particularly adamant about, was, as you picked up, this whole business about registration and crowd and all the rest of it, yeah?
Yeah.
And in fact, we have had conversations amongst us that we will actually disband the BritCon Group Limited and move on and move on forward in a positive sense for all the reasons that you have highlighted. So that's the reality behind it all. That's the first thing.
I'm really pleased to hear that, because to be honest with you, this is why I've been trying to keep your name out of it, because I mean, we've met a few times, and obviously we don't know each other totally, but I realise that you're an intelligent man who can see these things, but also, because you're so wrapped up in everything, kept busy, then you won't necessarily see the whole picture as people from the outside might see it. And no, that's brilliant to hear. In fact, I'm really pleased. But because one of the things that I was in the process of doing, I'll be totally honest with you, is taking Brian Gerrish to court for fraud, on the basis that under Section 12 of the Fraud Act, it makes company officers liable for fraud committed by the company. And being that money was being taken, which causes financial loss to the members and a gain to the company, and nothing was being basically under the false promise of the Magna Carta, etc., etc. And as I've looked at it, I've found that it would be very, very easy to argue that in court, and I'm pleased. I'm pleased that you've said that. Now,
let's focus on two things. First and foremost, let's deal with the British Constitution Group, and obviously where we're going forward, which is the Saturday event on the 15th in Manchester. Okay, now I'll provide you with the details. Let me try and cap this in as best way I can. Is that we now believe that what we have to do is take this to the next level.
Yeah.
It needs hands-on people who have the ability to actually assist in that process. So we're sort of inviting a number of people to attend 3 meetings, one on the 15th of September, which is the one I'd like you to attend. Now, let me make a comment about you personally, okay?
Yeah.
Because I've met you, and I like you. You and I got on. You also are an intelligent guy, and something I recognise. But you two do tend to get the wrong end of the stick sometimes. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to have a chat with you about wrong end of sticks, and try and give you some degree of comfort in the fact that we're not the baddies in this piece. The people who are the baddies are the ones who are trying to stir all the shit up.
Yeah. Oh no. I know. This is the thing. Is let me just explain. One thing is, I'm quite prepared to make mistakes in order to seek the truth. And
I know that, Chris. I know that. I admired you enormously, because when you got involved with Rusty and distracted there, you had the bloody decency to come up to me and say, I owe you an apology. I made the mistake. And because of that, I know absolutely that you're a decent guy with the heart in the right place. But unfortunately, as I say, it's easy in this game to be completely knocked off track because of innuendos and false assumptions all the time.
Now, there is one thing that that is of particular interest, totally separate from yourself, but this is where associations come in as well.
Yeah.
It can't have escaped your attention that Patrick Henningsen is the geopolitical editor of the UK column. You've seen that, haven't you?
It's complete bullshit.
Well, here's the thing.
Look, it's complete bullshit. It's absolutely unbelievable how. Look,
So you're telling me he's not the geopolitical editor? Is that what you're telling me? You're saying
right.
That's bullshit?
Okay, no, right.
What's the bullshit then?
No, okay.
Because I haven't said anything, and you're saying that's bullshit. So could you expand on that?
He was doing reports, and they took the opportunity of the guy to actually do a few reports. But up until just recently, I think last month, he has never ever been involved in the UK column. Now I know the UK column guys. I met them from the very outset. I met Mike, I met Brian, I met Carol, I met Sheila, and all the rest of it. I also know Pat, of course, and Pat was a bit worrying for us because Pat is the source of all this nonsense. And whilst a lot of what you've got and you know is true, and I can verify the stuff that's true, and I can also tell you the stuff that's shit, but I think what we need to do is I don't know whether you realise, are you communicating with Pyrite?
I am communicating with everybody.
Okay, well, okay, I have had a conversation with Pyrite. This conversation right now that you and I are having between us, right, is in confidence, Chris, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have had a conversation with Pyrite, and I actually agree with a lot of what you guys are saying with regards to the Holly Gregg stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I also am adamant that some of the stuff that you've got is completely wrong. Now, I've had a conversation with Brian about we need to address some of these issues because these issues are getting out of control. I am going to meet Pyrite, I'm hopeful in about a week or so, to discuss the things because I take Pyrite as a genuine guy.
Yes,
I've had a conversation with him.
Yeah, he is.
He's a straight shooter. Again, I admire his tenacity, what he's doing. I've now got an issue myself where I actually agree with a lot he says, and I've said that I will do my best to actually try and resolve these issues. Then into the piece enters Bada Bing.
Yeah. He's now, a little. I'll say one thing first. He's very raw in his approach.
Well, the point is, he's not doing what we're. If you go online, he's attacked all of the Truth Movement, the Roger Hayes, Free Roger Hayes site, the British Constitution Group.
He's attacked me. He's attacked me.
Well, all right. Now the point is that guy is a nuisance. He's a bloody nutcase. I've seen. We know who he is. We know the guy. We know where he lives. We know all that stuff about him. The point is that what is disturbing us is that people, intelligent people like you, are getting drawn into the bullshit. So what I've said to Pyrite is that we need to sit down and work out the best way that we can resolve these issues, these genuine issues, so that we can move the whole movement forward, because if you don't do that, the movement fragments, and that's exactly what the bloody other side want to happen.
That's already happened because of the fact of these issues not being addressed. It's happened.
Well, I look, Chris, you're absolutely so bloody right, and I'm trying to address them, and I'm asking people like you and Pyrite to pull back so that we can sit down and say, right, what are the issues, what is right and what's wrong, and let's try and get to the nitty-gritty. Now, what's happened, in fact, is people have stirred things up, and now people are retrenched. And even Brian has become retrenched, so much so that everyone's having to go at each other. Now, I'm not prepared to say to anybody, this guy is a good guy, that guy's a bad guy. I believe everybody has enough intelligence, most people have got enough intelligence to work out themselves when they know the facts, and they can build their own understanding of the whole picture and go from there. Unfortunately, not all the facts are known, and the purpose of the conversation between you and I is to try and resolve as many of the facts as we can, identify those facts that we're not sure about, and resolve those. Ultimately, the truth will out.
I totally agree, and to be honest with you, I really appreciate you ringing me because I have been keeping you at a distance. I'll admit that. The reason why is because I've been seeing how things have been panning out, and to be honest with you, Brian Gerrish, his whole attitude and approach to all of this is very worrying. Very worrying. Yeah. In fact, I'm seriously worried for his mental health. And that's really funny because that's exactly what he said to me.
Well, Chris, this is, you see, again, this is an unnecessary conversation between both of you because you're both intelligent guys. And I have said to Brian, I don't think he has handled this Holly stuff as well as he should have done. Now, that caused a little bit of conflict.
Can I stop you a second? Right.
Yeah, go on.
I've got video footage of the police illegally and unlawfully, and approved it in court, removing my child. I've just stuck it back up on the internet, and now the thing is, back in December time, I was in deep conversations with Malcolm Massey, and Malcolm Massey actually wrote an article to actually go in the column about all this, and he actually took copies of the fake court orders that have been produced by Leeds City Council, and he was flabbergasted by the whole situation. I mean, it's obviously, since you tried to help me that time, things have expanded since. Now, when I see that the UK column is quite prepared to print unsubstantiated rubbish with the Holly Gregg situation, but yet myself can come along with substantiated allegations and back that up to a point where I am willing to go to prison over it, then serious questions have to be asked, because when I then am helping...
Let me answer those, because this is an important part of where, you know, the reality gets created into something quite different. I'll tell you the problem with the UK column. Right.
Let me stop you 1 second though. What I will say is it's not just me. I'm just highlighting something that I can demonstrate. But sorry, go on.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, obviously, the UK column. What happens with the UK column is they are so overloaded that they are not dealing with things as well as they could do if they had more help. I've been down there. I've spent a week down there, and it's just impossible to do a lot of things. That's the first thing. Secondly, I'm absolutely certain that there is no problem with doing your story. It's just that there were things that were happening that were being overflowed, that their commitment. So you know,
I can't buy that. I'll tell you why I can't buy that. Because this has been going on for a couple of years, Roger. And to be honest with you, it's not just like, we're not just talking about December of last year. We're talking, this has been ongoing, and I've been filled full of excuses to the brim. Like, for instance, deadlines have not been met. I'll tell you now, Malcolm Massey actually did write a story, and he sent me the story, and Brian refused to publish it. So I don't buy any of that, to be honest with you.
Okay. If he refused to publish it, when did he refuse to publish it?
Well, I mean, that's academic. It was earlier this year, but the whole point is he refused. And not only that, I've then since sort of tried to sort of put that to one side and said, well, you know, I've said to myself, you know, I'm not the most important person in the world, and let that one go. And sort of moving on and trying to, take for example, trying to assist getting yourself out of prison. Now, I don't
mention, you know, my daughter told me what was going on, and I'm enormously appreciative of the work that you were doing. I did send a message back through her, so I hope you got that.
No, I did, and I appreciate that. But what it is
well, can I just add to that, because
yeah, sure.
Her own opinion was that you were working bloody hard to assist the process, and my response to her was that, you know, tell Chris I greatly appreciate it, but the bottom line is, I actually don't mind if I do the full stretch, because we were getting publicity out of it. All right?
Yeah. No, I get that, but you know,
the other thing, Chris, is you are a little bit ahead of the ballpark on this issue with regards to John Hurst. Yeah. Because John Hurst is locked in statute, right? Whereas you've actually advanced your knowledge to the next level, the same as Mike Dobson. Yeah.
So, well, I wouldn't say that. He's locked up and I'm free.
Well, yeah, but
he was being a bit stupid. Let's face it, as having rocketeering as a hobby. I would say he's incredibly stupid.
The point is he did some silly things, but also this brings me to the commercial lien process. He is the guy that actually went into the High Court with a commercial lien, and the judge told the Crown Prosecution Service and also the Chief Constable of Lancashire to go away and deal with the issue. But prior to that, the Lancashire police had actually dropped their interest in his case and said they wouldn't proceed. They reinstated it because of that commercial lien. Now, I was listening to this complete twat, Tom. I don't normally swear at people.
Cahill, yeah.
Who is that idiot?
Well, I'll tell you what. I to be honest with you, I was passing comments on the Skype chat between myself and Mel at the time, saying this guy's a total cock. Because I'll tell you now, I totally agree that he was a total dick. And I'll say, and I have said that publicly actually to people, but that was a setup. I'll tell you now, and I've told Mel that Nigel Beckwith was a plant, and I know he was a plant because I've got plenty of recordings of myself and him talking, and he slips up from time to time as I play things back. And it was Nigel Beckwith that brought Tom Cahill to Mel. And Mel was being really cagey with me, and she says, "Oh, I've got this other guy. Can you come and co-host with me, because he's going to talk about law and about what's going on, and I just want you to chip in every now and again." So I said, "Fine." I didn't know who this guy was until we went on the call, and then he was, just before we went on air, he was like, I just sensed there was something wrong about the guy, and. Yeah. Especially if you listen to the recording,
I did. I was absolutely. I'm saying I can't believe this.
Well, you know,
and I'll tell you what I noticed, Chris. I noticed how quiet you were, and I thought you are being very measured. You didn't say a thing against anybody.
Well,
right?
let me stop you a second. There's something else that on that. The recording that's been sent out is different from the live version. When it went out live, there's a bit that's edited out on the recording, and that's where I'm chipping in, interrupting him, saying, you know, this and that, and he turns around to me and he says, "Oh, might as well end this call now. I'm not being heard." And Mel had to come on and say, "Oh, no, none of us will talk. We'll just leave you." And what it was is he had a rehearsed speech, and to me that wasn't genuine. You know, you should be able to interrupt a conversation at any stage if the person is able to articulate themselves and able to substantiate what they're saying. And I wasn't able to do that. But sorry, go on.
Yeah, well, you know, clearly there is an attempt to defame the British Constitution Group, and I noticed that they're dragging me in, and that guy Tom Cahill, you know, I could sue that bastard for what he said about me.
I agree. I think it was total slander, especially with the alcohol business. You know.
Well, I mean, there's a few things. He was calling me all sorts of bloody things, but definitely he slandered me.
Yeah. And then when I tried to interrupt him and tried to say that, you know, you were all right, he then started on about saying something how people are naive to your good nature and things, and I thought you just not you but him. I just thought you're just a total wanker. You know, it's like, to be honest with you, you know, I know that you're bankrupt, right? And you want progress. Otherwise,
no, I'm not bankrupt. No, I'm not bankrupt.
All right, your legal fiction's bankrupt. Fair enough. But and
if people don't actually understand the difference, they're in the wrong game, because the point about the whole issue is, and this is where we've learned to the next level, is official receivers. I refused point blank to hand over anything, and they didn't get a single penny because I would not cooperate and accept the liability of the legal fiction. The way the system works.
And this is the thing as well that Tom Cahill was doing as well, was also he was saying that the freeman stuff doesn't work. Well, it clearly does in my experience, because I will
exactly.
Well, I can actually prove something that I've not actually shown anybody yet, and that is Leeds City Council about 3 months ago, so it's very recent, instigated contempt of court proceedings against me for committal to prison. And I stuck 2 fingers up at them, and they dropped it all. And I can show all this, and it really, really irritates me when these people come along. Now, one of the other issues attached to this that I am 100% sure on and can prove this is there are actors employed, actors who are reading scripts, and I'll tell you now. I'll give you an example. Dave Murphy. We haven't even spoken about him. Nobody has, but I'll tell you now. He's an actor, and I'll tell you how I know he's an actor. Is I have acting friends, and one of them was on Emmerdale. And she, to be honest with you, it came out all naturally in conversation as things do when you're talking across a cup of coffee. And she was telling me about how Dave used to, act and all this sort of thing. And I'm thinking, this is interesting, And then you'll start looking deeper. But I'll tell you what, it's really funny because I think it was while you were in prison. It may have been while you were in prison, but Dave Murphy actually managed to get an article in the Sun newspaper. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Oh well, you'll have to look this up because it's this sort of. To be honest with you, for those that didn't know that he was an actor, as soon as that piece came out, plenty of the free men turned around and started asking questions to each other because Dave was. The reason I'm mentioning this is because people have mentioned that Dave talks about you as if you're his sergeant, right? So people are already sort of making this connection, and I'm just pre-warning you, because Dave apparently lived on a diet of urine for a month or whatever, and the Sun decided to cover this story, and it was literally taking the piss, because this bloke's supposed to have been in prison for his car business and driving, driving basically, because he was trying to be the free man, driving, basically travelling without commerce, and it didn't work. Now, my observations from that video is Dave is not a free man. No way is he a free man. He doesn't comprehend the law at all, and he's just reading scripts. And when I'm watching that video and he's sat there in his car saying to the police officers, "I understand you, officer, I understand you," and I'm thinking, why would you understand an officer? Why would you do that if you're travelling without commerce? So, then you start scratching deeper under the surface. Now, one of the things is that I will make you aware of is there's a direct connection of common purpose to Brian Gerrish, and that's fact. I have approached a young lady who I was staying with earlier this year. I went to stay with Eleanor Wilson in London. I stayed for a brief period of time in December, and then it was floated, or perhaps you need a break, come and chill out with us and all that sort of thing. Eleanor Wilson is a common purpose graduate, it turns out, and I have put this to her and stated that any silence on the matter is acquiescence of what I am saying, and given her the opportunity to rebut it, and she's actually listed on the Common Purpose Expo's website. Now, this all links in.
Can I just ask? Is that? I think I know who you mean.
Yeah. She comes across butterwood and melt in her mouth.
She's the partner of Michael Stone.
Michael Upstone. Oh. Yeah, Mike.
Okay, I know who you mean, because I've actually had meetings with them as well.
Yes, and now I went to stay with these people.
That doesn't make me common purpose, of course.
No. Well, I mean, people could say the same about me staying with them. This is the whole point, and this is why I'm just priming you on it, because the whole point is Mike Upstone has been. He claims he was in the army as an officer, and you sort of ask these questions as you're sort of spending plenty of time with people casually. Oh, how did you leave the army? And then he came out with the old broken leg story, and I thought, yeah, right. And so I said, well, which part of the army were you in? He was in the officer. He was in the officers thing, and he was trained at Sandhurst, by all accounts, from his own words. And then I looked deeper at the organisation he's been involved with, and that's Humanitad. And Humanitad are currently trying to raise money to build a monument at the minute, and that monument is a pyramid. So then you start scratching deeper, and it all sort of links. I won't really go into it all because I don't want to bore you, and I want to stay focused and not digress too much.
Well, no, because I know a lot of the details already, and it's interesting just comparing notes, because I knew about the pyramid, I knew about Humanitarian, I knew about Sanders, I knew about Eleanor Wilson. So everything you're saying is lies there, because I spent about 4 hours with them and was able to sort of get a little bit of information. And let me just say this, Chris. I mean, yeah. You do what I do, which is you talk to people and treat them as you should, just as
individuals, because you get good and bad in everything. So you have to approach it that way.
Eleanor was a bit of a strange box as far as I was concerned, and I don't know how you make the link with Brian and Eleanor.
Well, Brian made the link, would you believe? When he's sending me text messages, as he was last week, he actually made the connection. And what I will say is he's placed himself in a position where, to be honest with you, no matter what anybody says to me, and that includes yourself, I cannot be convinced that Brian Gerrish is operating with anything but an ulterior motive. Because I've seen too much, and I've seen a pattern of his behaviour. Now, the only way that I can reverse that position, in my mind, is if the man addresses the points and totally reverses his position and renounces any connection to the club. I'll just call it the club now, and if you speak to him, he'll know exactly what you are saying, even though it might not mean anything to you at this stage, and that's all I'll say on that. But can
I just clarify? Do you mean the Bitcoin club?
The what? Sorry.
Club? What club?
Well, this is the thing. There's an actual physical place that is a club, and rituals go on there. Because I've been there when the rituals have been going on there, and
in where?
In the club. Brian knows. Brian knows.
What, in Leeds?
No. Brian knows. Just tell him, that it's the club that his London team operate. Because that's how he told me. He told me it was his London team. Right. You see, this is where it gets interesting now, doesn't it? Because honestly, Roger, you've been set, man. Honestly, you are, and you need.
Okay, I mean, I would suggest that if there's information that you're imparting here that is true, and it turns out to be not what I think it is, then fine, and that's the way of the world. But yeah. I do know a lot of other things that a lot of people don't know, and I think that I have to balance what I know against what people tell me they know, and I think this is half of the game, isn't it? Is just we are being. I mean, let's take David Noakes, the David Noakes story, yeah, and to me, David Noakes is a pretty genuine guy, yeah, a pretty hard-working guy. And also, yes, he was involved in Brian Gerrish in the early stages. And as I understand it, David Noakes lost his house. He was divorced. Yeah. And he was going through a pretty tough time.
That's as I understand it, and he couldn't handle everything really, emotionally.
Yeah, and that again, that's a possible scenario, and I think that. Hang on, let me just quickly take this call. There's a guy that's called me.
I'll tell you what. I need to go grab a glass of water. Not a problem.
Okay, you grab. I'll call you back in 5 minutes.
No problem. Hello.
Hello.
I was just pressing. I've got a touch screen phone, and I was just pressing it like mad, and it wouldn't answer, thinking it'll ring off. So, oh dear. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so I was just talking about Noakes, David Noakes, because I think this is a classic. My view on the historical situation there was that you had two guys who were doing something, and they had a falling out, and so is the way of the world.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to say that, you know, you're wrong and I'm right. I'm not prepared to do that. What I'm prepared to say is that we need to use a rational approach to the reality of it, or find out what the truth is.
Yeah.
I believe I'm a good judge of character. I believe I do know what's going on. I don't believe I'm naive or stupid. I have a ability to sort of sniff these things out, and have done so on a number of occasions. Right.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that what I want to do is I want to stay entirely focused on getting the job done, which is to claim back control of our country and stop these criminals doing things like they've done to you. And I believe that you understand what's going on, because you're a victim of it, and I believe that's your intention as well.
No, I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor. Victims are people who've only given up.
Well, okay, yeah, you're a survivor. You know, I admire the fact that you've gone. I tell you, by the way, just an off thing. You mentioned it before, but the video online, I was fuming. I have a nom de plume on the internet, of course, and I was making some comments about that video, obviously, in support of you, because I thought those thugs. It was a disgrace what went, and I did see that video, and I'm very upset about it. I've got kids, and I'm sympathetic to that shit.
Well, I mean, the thing is, the way
I believe.
Sorry, I was going to say, the way I see it is, you know, the only thing I've ever asked for is for a trial by jury to take place on the basis of what they're saying. That's the only thing I've asked for, to the court. And you know what, I'll tell you exactly one of the things that I've narrowed down as to what's going on clearly with the family courts, and that is, for every 10 cases that go through, only 3 of them are being dealt with. This is a guesstimate, but only 3 of them are being dealt with in the correct procedures, in the correct manner, going through magistrates' court, then to Crown Court, and whatever. The other 7 cases, which mine has gone in with those 1-2 miss a few business, they go through county court. They don't even touch the magistrates' court, and it's totally fraudulent to a point where what happens is you go in with the because I brought the case to court myself, and I took it to county court as a civil claim. It was hijacked by Leeds City Council, who took it to a private room where the judge never wore robes, and we've had this same man. Now, I'm pushing this out at the minute because that video has already been banned once off YouTube. So what I did is it was at a point where YouTube would recognise it as you were uploading it. And something that I've learned from Bada Bing, strangely enough, is, and this is very useful if you make note of this, and that is, when you are uploading a video, if you state what your belief of the law is in the comments, believe it or not, that protects your video. Fact. Works. It does work. So, because they've made several attempts to get me to remove material from the internet, etc., etc. And like I said, they even threatened contempt proceedings. Now, the other thing, going back to it earlier this year, which really sort of answered the questions, is I brought forward a criminal prosecution against the corporate officers of Leeds City Council. And what I did is I went to Leeds Magistrates Court, and I took 2 witnesses with me, who the same thing had happened to them, and I took my assistant to take notes. And I'd already been told that it would not be open to the public, and I'd argued the case of under Article 6 of the Human Rights Act that everything needs to be public. And they said because it wasn't a trial, they use a technicality that it wasn't a trial yet, that they could do it in private. So I said, well, fair enough, as long as the end result is the summonses get issued, let's go for it. So I ended up going down to Leeds Magistrates Court, got there at Court 7, it was 1 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, and I was told the court door was locked. Lady came to the court door, and she unlocked it, and she says, are you Mr. Jarvis? And all this. Obviously, I had to represent my title at that point, because it was my title that had been had the wrong, the tort committed against it. So long and short of it, yes, I'm Mr. Jarvis, blah, 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 blah. And she says, I do apologise, there's no usher available today for this court, so therefore we have to keep it locked. I said, okay, then not a problem. I said, brought me two witnesses here to substantiate the basis of the allegations, and also my assistant to take notes. She went, oh, all right, I'll just go check with the judge to see whether that's okay. And she did. She came back out and she says, it's not okay. Yeah. She says, do you still want to come in? I says, do you know what? At that point, I just thought to myself, you know what? Let's go in. Because I went in there and I'm thinking I'm not going to leave this room because there's either going to be two men in white coats or they're going to find some excuse to lock me up. And it was really, really, really interesting because the judge that I had was District Judge Anderson, who the last time I came into contact with him was when I was sat in the public gallery and Norman Scarf was calling him a corrupt, bent lawyer. And he was right. Now I think District Judge Anderson actually remembered me because he all he said to me was, well, he was doing a lot of shouting, trying to intimidate me and wind me up, and I was there, you know, basically just trying to stay as calm as possible because I knew that they were just trying to poke me and just say, there you go, he's gone mad, we told you. So long and short of it is, you know, I presented evidence. Now you don't have to present any evidence at the lane of information, but I did. Now the summonses were refused on the basis that I didn't provide any evidence. Well, this is really interesting because I've yet to follow this up. And what I'd done is, before I went to the court, I got it in writing from the court, because I wrote to them saying it is my belief that I do not have to bring any evidence and that my word is my bond and I will swear an oath on penalty of perjury. They wrote back to me saying, you are quite correct, Mr. Jarvis, you do not need any evidence, blah, 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 blah. So I'm in a situation where I've got that letter. Now, what I did at the end of this summons lane of information is I said I want it in writing. I want your judgment in writing. And he started repeating. I said, not orally. I says written. And I had to insist. I stood there. I stood my ground. And he was there. I'm inviting you to leave. I'm inviting you to leave. I said, look. I says, I hope the people have mercy on you. More mercy than what you've given the people when they rise up and they take your head. You know, and then eventually the clerk turned round and she said, okay then, Mr. Jarvis, I'll make sure that you get a written judgment. And guess what? I have a written judgment saying that the summonses were not issued on the basis that I didn't provide any evidence. Now, now having both of these letters, you can imagine that I've got quite a powerful case at the moment. And
this is where you are so bloody good, Chris, and you know, it frustrates the hell out of me that all your energies are being, you know, distracted when what I desperately want you to do is to help us with the stuff that you've done. Because I wrote to because what you're talking about there is exactly what I've gone through here. It's interesting because I wrote to the local court likewise and said, I want a summons. A private prosecution against the judge who put me in prison unlawfully because it wasn't a jury trial, okay?
Yeah.
And the court have written back and said, wait for it, please submit some evidence.
yeah. Well, and how can you prove a negative?
Oh, exactly. Now the point is that, all right, so you're now in a position that you want to take it forward. I want to take it forward. Now my angle is it would be unfair on any judge in a magistrate's court to have to decide on whether another judge should be brought to trial. Therefore, I'm asking the Birkenhead Magistrates Court to facilitate a common law court, right?
Yep.
And I'm anticipating them to say no.
Right. Well, if I was to tell you as well that what was it? The judge, when he was doing his shouting and trying to talk over me, one of the things that he kept on repeating is because part of my argument was treason, in that the judge who sat a trial he basically sat it outside of his office, you know, outside of his jurisdiction, outside of his remit, whatever you want to put it. And the judge kept on turning around to me. He says, "You cannot tell me that one of my honourable colleagues has sat a trial without going to magistrate's court. You cannot tell me that." And I'm saying to him, "Yes, Your Honour, that's exactly what I'm telling you." And he's going, "No, you can't tell me that." And I just, do you know what? I just thought, what was going on in my head then is I thought, well, you know, this is the old Freemason business, that unless it's murder or treason, they will not rat on their fellow man. And even if it is murder and treason, it has to be extreme.
Even if it's murder and treason, they won't either. Exactly, because they swore an oath to each other.
And this is it. And you know, one of the things about this, and this takes me back to the UK column, for instance. One of the things that I should see happening is when somebody takes through a criminal prosecution or something like that, where they're trying to uphold all of our rights, say for instance yourself or myself or someone else, it should be covered by that paper, because what that does is then that creates the public interest.
You'll be pleased to know something. You'll be very pleased to know something, okay? Because I have now got it was my recommendation is that we now do a court report.
Yeah.
Every fortnight, I will do a court report through the UK column.
Mm.
So what that means is that, you know, if you will help me out, right, we will feed all these cases through the UK column. I'm going to say a couple of things. I just want you to hear me out on this, okay?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Ultimately, in due course, we'll all know what's right and what's wrong, because it's going to all come out. But I think you've really, really got the wrong end of the stick with regards to the UK column. And I know that you've got the wrong end of the stick with regards to Brian. You may not accept it, but let's just leave it like that. Let's just beg to differ on that.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to be proven wrong.
Well, okay. I mean, I've worked alongside these guys for some time now. I mean, I know what I will say about this is that Brian Gerrish does not handle things as well as he might do, right?
You can definitely say that.
And you know, exactly. And he fucks up, but we all fuck up.
But he's not willing to admit his mistakes. That's the problem.
Exactly. And you know, I know you are. And I think the most important thing is that we've got one issue which has turned into a fucking nightmare. And I warn them about this.
Yeah.
That the issue that we've got to resolve is the Holly Gregg thing. Now, what I'm gonna ask you to do, I'm gonna meet with Pyrite. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Would you meet with me and him so that we, the three of us, can work out what needs to be done to resolve the issue?
Yeah, actually, I'd enjoy that. Actually, yeah.
Okay, so I've put that in. I've offered to go and talk with him, you know, face to face, man to man. You and I have done that. So I will actually put it to Pyrite, the three of us, because I believe that both of you are trying to get that issue resolved, and I believe that I'm the conduit through which that can actually be resolved.
That would be brilliant. If do you know what? To be honest with you, if that one issue could be resolved, the amount of division within the freedom movements, all the various different chapters and sectors and whatever else you want to call it, would be very quickly healed.
Okay, and I think that's what we've got to work on. That's certainly what I've been working on. Now, Brian is you know, his position on it is that they seem to forget that all this paedophilia is going on and people are being protected. And I've said, no, I don't think that's the case.
Well, I'll tell you what.
And I think there's false accusations.
Well, I had a bit of a breakthrough, believe it or not. There's a blog called Not So Big Society, and it is a blog written by social workers. Okay. They've written about Brian Gerrish before, saying that child stealing, it's all the tinfoil hat brigade and all that lot, conspiracy, blah blah. Now, lately they've written 3 articles on myself. They've targeted myself, and it's really, really interesting because one of the issues that they've raised is the fact that I do not get to see my children, and they've raised it, and they've said that it's because I accused Leeds City Council of running a paedophile ring. Now, the interesting bit about that is yes, I have said that, and it was in a private setting. this is the interesting bit about it. So it's very clear to me that there's a social worker who's handling my children's case, who is reporting publicly on the internet. Now, one of the comments when you read down below the article tries to explain away the paedophilia. They actually acknowledge that it's going on. They say in the comments, bear in mind this is written by social workers, and they say perhaps what Mr. Jarvis is referring to is the oddities when children are being taken by taxis and PC Plod is not following it up. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, you've just admitted a failure to protect publicly, you know, to the world, you know, and it's like, hang on just a minute. So this all happened in the previous 48 hours, and I've yet to follow this up. But I have tried to...
This is an interesting thing. I mean, the thing there, Chris, is that they know it's happening, but I suppose they're not all involved, and that they can't accept any blame themselves because they're not ferreting out this information. They don't have an interest in doing so, and I can understand where they're coming from, but nevertheless, it's happening and it needs to be outed.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. One of what I've actually found is any social worker that's genuine and gets, it's the old good and bad in everything. I believe there are some very good social workers who do some very good work. But, and it's a big but, if they see any wrongdoing, what I've observed is they have to toe the party line of the company, otherwise they're out. And it's simple as that. And, I think, do you know what? This is where I get... Going back to my frustrations of the UK column not covering what it should be doing, obviously you've just addressed that with the court report thing, but the clear issue is when something goes in a newspaper, it then meets with the qualification in law of being wider public interest, which then means that they cannot cover it up or hide it, and if they do, it can be highlighted even more. Now, this is something that I've observed that works because, particularly when I think back to last year when we were trying to get Malcolm Massey and Norman Scarf out of jail, there is so much media coverage on it that I could talk to the court as if, I was there, one of their QCs. I was having conversations with them. I was, the judge even granted legal visits in the prison, and not only did that happen, I also faxed the Ministry of Justice to ask permission to take a tape recorder in, and they faxed back saying yes. And it was, but this is the bit that really annoys me as well. Just sort of linking that in with when you were in prison, is particularly with John Hurst. I've not spoken to him since, because I like the guy and I don't want to fall out with him. But there was a distinct lack of communication where both he and Brian were speaking directly to each other, and yet I was the one writing the solutions or coming up with the ideas. And long and short of it is, he really fucked up, putting it bluntly. And Danny... I'll tell you what, one of the things that concerns me at the moment, just speaking about Danny and trying not to digress, is he has just been made bankrupt, as I understand. Now,
he hasn't. That's his legal fiction.
Yeah, I get all that, but what I'm saying is, the general...
And he's not signing, and he's refusing to sign the papers.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I've seen particular things being said about it's to do with council tax over the internet. I've checked the insolvency register, and it's a business insolvency. So he's bullshitting already, and not only is
that's not true, because he's a guarantor for the business.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's a business insolvency that's on the register, and he is making out like it's a council tax issue, like what your normal residents face.
The council are trying to bankrupt him personally. Yeah, That's a fact. He also has the bank that's trying to bankrupt his business. Right. So there's two things happening there.
But it's been done. I've checked the register. It's been done. It's happened.
Well, whether it's the company, the banks, and the company, I don't know. I don't care. The point is that try not to read too much into the if you actually get all of the facts.
I'll tell you what. Let me pause you and explain this a little more. When I was speaking with Danny, when I came into contact with him was while you were in prison, because he was the man on the ground that was going to go into court and do the business, and I come along as consultant really, just to try and make life easier and try and make it happen. It's better as a team, isn't it? Now the whole point is Brian started to tell me about how this bloke had been through the family courts and all this sort of thing, and you know what? Alarm bells started ringing, because I'm thinking, why he who fights the fight for family courts, why has he never heard of this public figure, Danny Bampin, before? It really troubled me. And then when I was talking to him about the class action, the fake class action and all that happened a year or two back, that I rumbled and I basically stamped on them from a great height, and I noticed Sam Hallimond is still daren't show his face. And so he shouldn't, and the same with Paul. Well, I'll get onto this in a second, but I believe Danny to be a bullshitter. I don't believe his stories at all, and I think he's full of shit. And that's without swearing too much. That's where I'm putting him. And he's an actor that's come along with all this television equipment and all this, and it's like, hang on a minute. I checked his director's reports and stuff like that. I'm looking at all these different companies that he's associated with. And you know what? I've done the same for people like Brian, yourself, Belinda McKenzie, loads of people. And this thing keeps on cropping up all the time with the people around Brian. Not yourself, but other people all seem to be linked to television companies, DVD production companies, and other crappy sort of. And you've got to ask yourself, what is the motivation here? Is it freedom and upholding rights and upholding our freedom through rights, or is it education, or is it just egotistical bullshit fame? And I'll tell you now, it's egotistical bullshit fame as far as that kid's concerned. And when I see that people like him get a platform and they've proven and done fuck all, I think to myself, why? And then and then particularly going back to Dave Starbuck as well, because this links in, and him being an actor, is when I first heard about Dave Starbuck, I was specifically told, it's quite funny thinking about it now, that he was a firefighter who was on the ground when 9/11 happened. That was the original story. Now, obviously, there's a turnover of people in the freedom movements and things, and there's only the odd core people that stick through and stick there and everything. And you might say I'm one of these core people, and I notice things like this. I notice when stories change, and I notice when things ain't right. Now, particularly, those two. Well, I could not have any association with those two people. Now the other thing as well, I'm just thinking, the other issue, just going back to the UK column. Sorry for jumping about on this. I'm trying to not to fragment this too much, but the UK column, as I say, going back to this Patrick Henningsen that they've just taken on or whatever, and when you compare an Alex Jones broadcast from America to the latest broadcasts, and we're talking in the last few days from Brian Gerrish, there's something very similar that's just occurred as well. And do you know what that very similar thing is?
What?
The graphics. I'm not the only one to have noticed. I am not the only one to have noticed. And you know what? It's these. There's a population of people who are saying, "Hang on a minute, what's the link here? We've got Patrick Henningsen from Alex Jones. Come on, because there's not enough people in the freedom movement apparently to choose from in this country." One of the people that I would have said would have been perfect for that position would have been Ian Crane. because he talks about geopolitics and etc. etc. But as it's turned out, Ian Crane's just full of shit himself, as I've looked into it, and the way that he's defending Brian with unsubstantiated. I mean, do you know that I received a death threat, and do you know that I had to ring the police? And do you know what? Oh yeah. Well, I recorded I record all my conversations anyway, but as a matter of course, something that the social workers trained me on indirectly. But I'm going to actually publish the recording of me ringing the police. I've already edited it to take out the the critical personal bits. But I actually addressed Brian about this, and he did not deny it. He did it by proxy. And what I believe actually happened is Brian's turned round to a few people and said, look, get this fucking Chris off my back, put some heat on him or pressure or whatever, and somebody has taken it too far. Now I know who that somebody is, and this somebody originally approached me saying that they had 24 cases of abuse that they were handling at the moment. I thought, hang on a minute, that's bullshit, because you know what, 24 cases, I don't think most solicitors have got 24 cases. And this guy had all sorts of...
Can I ask you, Chris, in confidence, can I ask who that was?
Yeah, it was Yannis Emmanuelidis, a Greek guy.
Who?
I can't even pronounce his name properly, to be honest with you. It's but he sent me Yannis Emmanuelidis. I can copy and paste his name into a chat box or something, but I couldn't pronounce it. And the long and short of it is, he was basically saying, he'd sent me a message saying how Hitler exterminated all the informants because he found them to be parasites. And he wrote this in the text thing on Skype, and obviously I did the screen grab, and I sent back well-meaning, and he sent me back, well, you know exactly what that means. And I thought, okay then, so I typed in, I take it that's a death threat then, and he started getting all funny with me, which it obviously made it look worse. So I just put on the end, listen, just go report back to Brian, tell him it's not worked, or something like that I put on it. And then I thought, hang on a minute, you know what, because there are so many crazy dudes about, I better ring the police and just get this on record, because if anything were to happen to me, you know what, if Brian's giving out the instruction, he deserves to go down no matter what, how heavy-handed he's been or light-handed, he instigated it, fact. And the point is, it's fact, because I've addressed Brian on it, and he has not rebutted or denied anything that I've said. All he's done is tried to say that I'm a crazy dude. Now, obviously, you know what, when you make progress, people call you a crazy dude. And I'll tell you now, I went into court to assist, as a Mackenzie friend, this family called the Apaya family. And I've only recently resigned from the case. It's the only thing I've ever stepped away from. You know, do you know what I mean? And,
which case was that?
This is the Apaya case in what it is. Have you heard of them? You've heard of the Mooses, and you've seen what's gone on with them.
Yeah, I heard of the Mooses. Yeah.
Right. Well, it's similar to that, and to be honest with you, I don't fully believe that the Mooses case is totally genuine anyway. I think there's an element of setup to that, but I'll talk about that another time with you, because that's a whole conversation of its own. But basically, what happened is John Hemming's office, MP, he got in touch with me, and he said, "Can you help these people out?" So, you know, I'm thinking, well, you know, this is could be good in a lot of ways. If an MP's handing me work, I can make, you know, I can be egotistical, make something out of it, and raise my profile. Because to be honest with you, I never wanted to be a name or anything like that, but I know in order to protect myself, I need my name out there so that the courts can't do something dirty, or it's not as easy for them to do something dirty. So these Apayas, they're from Ghana. The children are Ghanaian citizens, and it's still going on at the moment. My friend's taken over the case, but what it is it was a simple application for contact to see their children. Now, as I say, they're Ghanaian nationals, and the children are Ghanaian nationals, and Leeds City Council have done the same to them as what they did to me. County court, no criminal charges, no nothing. They just wanted the children, basically. And as I understand it, one of them actually has cerebral palsy now, that he didn't have it when he was with the parents. So, third hearing into this contact application, and we still haven't... by the way, let me tell you this as well, just as a side note. I get full rights of audience every time I go into court. I do not have to apply. They know who I am. And the barristers fucking hate it. It's brilliant. I love it. Do you know what? Because you've got to bear in mind, these people have been to university, and you know, someone reads a book, comes along and just takes over. So what happened is, third hearing in, the local authority barrister turns around to me. She goes, Mr. Jarvis, just wondering if you could come into chambers. You know, something to discuss. Can't say anything at the moment. So I thought, this is interesting. So all the other parties and other people stayed outside, and we went in with the judge. And right then, Mr. Jarvis, this is only like a month or two back, is this, Roger? And I've told all this to Brian, which is interesting. And again, this should have been on the paper in some form or other. But anyway, because to me it's news, and when I talk to other people, they say it's news as well. So what they did is they said, there are a few concerns about your capacity as Mackenzie friend, Mr. Jarvis. I said, oh yeah?
The lunatic angle, aren't they?
Yes, that's exactly where they were going down. Now, do you know what the whole basis of their argument was? That I had findings made against me in that very same place. Now, it was really good, and I've got the transcript from this, and believe it or not, I've not read the transcript yet. But what I do is I lay it on them, and I say, look, I've actually cleared my name, and I've done it by statutory declaration, sworn it on the Bible, entered it into public record. I've got the acknowledgement about that from the court, and it's the last thing that's been said on public record, and it's unrebutted, and the only thing that can override it is a statutory declaration made equally point by point, or a trial by jury. And obviously the trial by jury would be to say whether it's perjury or not, because that's essentially what you do when you make a statutory declaration, is you're making it on the penalty of perjury. So it really brings... What that does as well, as a tip for you, Roger, is that brings it back into common law, right? And I'll tell you about that in a second. So basically what they'd said is, blah, blah, these findings have been made, blah, blah, and I argued that, and I said, look, you know, I'm perfectly capable. I said, those findings were made, and I said, since then, I've actually helped out numerous parties, and one of them actually made case law. And I'd not addressed it at that point, and I happened to have a copy of the judgment from Justice Wynne Williams from the High Court on me. 'Cause it's an egotistical thing, I admit, keep it on me. And I pulled it out, and the judge says, well, what's this then? I said, that, Your Honour, is case law where I actually went before the High Court, before Mr. Justice Wynne Williams, since this so-called finding was made, and Mr. Wynne Williams gave me rights of audience. He didn't ask any questions, and he found me to be totally sound of mind. Otherwise, I'm quite sure that alternative procedures would have taken place. And he just staring down at his desk, and I could see I'd done it. There was nothing they could do. There's nothing they could say. So he said, right, okay then. So then the local authority says, one more thing, Your Honour. John Hemming, I understand that John Hemming, the MP, has involved Mr. Jarvis in this case. I said, yes, and what has that relevance? So the judge said, look, how has this happened? How did Mr. Hemming get involved? And I explained, I said, look, you know, I've been through this court, as you pointed out. And he says, so Mr. Hemming is aware that you've been through this court and that you've had findings made. This cannot be any coincidence. What I'd like you to do, there's a few more things said, and then he says, what I'd like you to do, Mr. Jarvis, is he said, we're going to go out now, and we're going to call the parties in, and what we're going to do is I am going to make a judgment. And he said, I want you to repeat everything that you have said to me for the purpose of the tape. So I said, fine, not a problem. because I had the upper hand and I still have. And long and short of it is, repeated it all back, and the judge he made a judgment saying, clearly you are capable and suitable as a Mackenzie friend, and that is my judgment. He also turned round to the umpires and he said, Mr. Umpire, he says, are you aware that there were findings of sexual abuse made against Mr. Jarvis in this place? And Mr. Umpire, of course, goes, yes, I am. And he says, Mrs. Umpire, are you aware? And she says, yes. And they both say separately, we have complete confidence in Chris. We've got complete confidence, and he's the man that we've chosen. Because obviously I discussed everything that happened to me, and I was explaining how I could possibly assist them, and trying to explain and why we'd been joined up together, and why it wasn't a solicitor that we're being joined up with, because a solicitor.
Well, the thing, of course, is that initially that's why I put you in touch with Vicky Haig, because I thought you both had a very, very similar thing, and you could work together. And of course, I didn't
know then what I know now. But of course, I mean, this is the thing, and you know what? What actually happened was the judge turned around and he said, "This is absolutely no coincidence that Mr. Hemming has involved you, and what I will say now, for and on the record, Mr. and Mrs. Hapaya, you will get a fair hearing."
Oh yeah.
And now this is interesting, because I walked away from that and I'm thinking, why would this man have needed to have made a judgment, and why would he need to get that transcript ordered, and why would he need to say that they would get a fair hearing? He is indicating exactly what I've always said, that there hasn't been any fairness. If you have to say it, then there's something else going on. So as I say, I've got this transcript and everything, but what I've done is I've stepped away from the case, because it was quite clear that the next time I walked in there, they would do something. They would, because they don't care about the law. They care about what they can get away with. And
that's exactly right. That's exactly what they care about.
And
and sometimes they pull their heads in because they know they're going to make it's going to be blatantly obvious. And even when it's blatantly obvious, they still get away with it.
This is it. And so my friend, he's dealing with the case at the moment, and it's ongoing. But I think it's about 5 hearings in at the moment, and still yet they have not discussed what contact these parents are going to have with their own children.
They're going to try and take them away from them. That's why.
Yes. Well, this is where it gets even more interesting in this particular case, because I am toying, and I've been toying for a long time, of approaching the Ghanaian embassy, and the reason being is because the parents are being deported. They are going through deportation proceedings as separate matter in the High Court in London, and it's on the second stage of appeals process at the moment, because they've been refused entry into the UK despite living here for 10 years.
They'll steal the kids, export or deport the parents, and job done.
Yeah, and this is it. And having looked at the paperwork very carefully, it's very clever what the Home Office has actually done, because what we've got the Ministry of Justice dealing with one side and the Home Office dealing with another side. It's really, really weird, and I've never seen anything like it before. And
they are colluding. I mean, they're working as a team. That's the thing. They have a process that they go through.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. As I'm talking to this Ghanaian couple and that, I find I'm trying to explore reasons with them as to why they would have been set up in such a way. I'm saying to them, have you pissed someone off? What's
no,
that?
They just find targets and go for them.
Well, yeah, I agree, but I also it turns out that this guy's some prince or whatever, like tribal prince in Ghana, and it turns out that his brother-in-law overthrew it was involved directly with the coup that happened over there, and so then I'm starting to think, you know what, if they overthrew the crown in Ghana and they're associated with it, then you know what, that answers a lot of questions. And there's and when you put that in with the fact that they just want children and the local authority wants children and stuff, then it's an easy excuse for them then. So that's ongoing. But
now listen, Chris.
Yeah.
Listen, I've really got to move on because I've got stuff to do here. But I want to talk further with you when we've got a bit more time because I want to talk about the Vicky Hague thing as well with you.
Yes, yeah, I'd like to explore that. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot going on. You're sort of getting a lot of stuff. You obviously you've got some views, and I value your opinion, but I do think you get things wrong, and I want to try and address these issues where things are going off the rail. Now, one of the important things at the moment is this British Constitution Group website. Now, as I understand it, you're involved in it, but it was set up by Bada Bing. Is that right?
No, I created it. I created it, and I'll tell you why I did it as well.
Right.
Because I did it to highlight something, and that is that you have no ownership or control over it.
That's not true. Because we're not talking about the BritCon now. We're talking about the British Constitution Group, which is a completely separate entity. And I will bring my bank statements to show you to.
Oh no. No. Listen, right. I wouldn't be talking to you now if I thought you were dodgy.
No, I appreciate
that. What I'm concerned about mostly is I still feel it, and in some ways we have to sort of leave this conversation until we come back again, and we have to agree to disagree, because I'm still of the mind that you are being set up, and I'd like to be persuaded otherwise, but the thing is,
let's work on that.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing is that I'm no man's fool. Neither are you. We're reading things that are happening around us, and we need to make our own judgments for our own reasons. But two things. Firstly, will you attend this meeting on the 15th, Saturday the 15th of September?
Whereabouts are we meeting? It sounds good.
It's in Manchester.
Oh, that's easy enough. Yeah,
and what I'm going to do is I'm presenting a way forward for all of us, basically a solution to the problem, which is the declaration of sovereignty for the 2015. That's what it's about. But also the reason I want you there is that the stuff that you do on the law side, I admire the work you've done. I want to put it to good use. What I see is happening at the moment is you keep getting distracted on all the negative shit, which is not good for you. It's not good for me. It's not good for anybody. And whilst I understand that you're ferreting out this information and you're putting two and two together, in some cases coming up with 7.5, I want to actually, if you like, go through all this information with you. So you've got, if you like, some, not necessarily opposite view, but some countering views where you're coming up with some of the stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Now,
yeah.
I would like you to take down the British Constitution website, the one that you've set up. Will you do that, please?
I will do that when the Brit Constitution Limited is wound up. I'll make that deal with you. I'll do it then.
Okay. Well, now the problem I've got now is that you need to therefore change it to the Brit Limited copy, not the British Constitution Group, because they're not one and the same thing. And that is an attack.
No.
Attack on me. That's not an attack on Brian Gerrish or anyone else. That's an attack on me.
No. Right. The point is that even though you've said that these are two separate entities, in law, you are associated with that company by your association with Brian Gerrish. Brian Gerrish is, it could be presumed in a court of law that they are both one and the same. And there's no way you could prove otherwise. This is the issue.
But all right.
That's why it could.
That may be an issue that you feel is important, but I can't see where this is going. I can't see what the actual issue that you've got is with me.
Oh no, there's no. Well, the only thing that I've been trying to work out is to how deep you knowledge is with regard to what's going on, because I know you're a decent man in that, and I know that you're honourable, and that's very important to me, because Brian Gerrish is not honourable. He's in dishonour at the moment.
Well, I still don't. That's my issue. That if you have an issue with the UK column with Brian Gerrish, then go for that. That's fine. But what I'm having an issue with is you're causing me strife at the moment with this website, because I'm trying to build a positive group for the right reasons, and all I'm trying to do is work on the positive stuff. I don't want to have to be dealing with all the negative shit.
I agree. I mean, the thing is, if I totally agree that if all the energy was put into something constructive, it would get places. Now, the issue at hand is you've raised that. So what I will do is I will make it clear on the description that this is to do with Brit Constitution Limited. I will do that. And what I will do is I will also make clear that we've spoken, and that as far as I'm concerned, that I do not have any issues with you, and that we're going to speak again. What I'll also do as well is I'll be talking with other people as well, as you can probably imagine, and you know what, I'll just sound people out really, and just because at the end of the day, we're all individuals, and this is one of the things that if I hadn't have done it, someone else would have, put it that way. So it's better that I'm in control, really, isn't it? Let's face it.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, now listen. I'm going to talk to Pyrite. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have said this. I'm going to repeat it. This is confidential between you and me. I've asked the same of Pyrite. He's respected that up to date, and I appreciate it. That he's an honourable guy, as you are. So. It's probably going to be about 2 weeks, but I want to sit down, the three of us, and sort out the issues. What I would be enormously appreciative of is this, right? In order for me to do what's appropriate vis-a-vis Brian, I need... He's just reacting to the shit now, and this Mel V. I think she's been set up, hasn't she?
Just from the Nigel Beckwith side, yeah, and this, yeah.
So have you had conversation with Nigel Beckwith?
I have, and to be honest with you, I've labelled him now as being a misinformation agent and nothing more, because one of the things that I have recordings of is him. He's basically saying, oh, so and so said this, so and so said that, and what Mel V also has is the opposite conversation taking place with her, where he's accusing other people of the same things, and really he's just throwing as much mud about to see what sticks.
Well, let's do a few things. Let's try and get to the. I mean, all right.
Would you? I'll take. Sorry, I've just had an idea actually of one of the steps forward. Is how about have you ever spoken to Mel?
No.
I'm just thinking if we can somehow, how about we have a Skype conference at some point where I introduce you both, and because she's very much like myself, she's honourable, she's in pursuit of the truth, and she's prepared to make mistakes, and if you have a conversation with her, she will change. She will change accordingly to what she sees fit. So.
All right, let's do that. Let's do that, because I think there's a lot of stuff that we're not winning this battle if we're arguing amongst ourselves. And if she's genuine, if she's on the right side, then I would like to certainly sort. I mean, I sincerely believe all of this stems from the Holly Gregg thing.
Yes.
And I think that's where.
Yeah. This is it, because this is the one thing that just addressing another small point before we get off, is the fact of Belinda McKenzie raising money for a private prosecution that costs nothing is also a very big issue. The fact fact that Robert Greene is happy to go on the radio and talk about it, but is not willing to lay the information at court, is also another issue. And one of the things that's been picked up on especially is by talking about these things in public is actually prejudicing any form of proper justice happening. And you know what, I am in no doubt whatsoever that Holly's been abused, The only thing I'm in doubt about is who did it.
Well, I think, and it's a very important point, is that I raised the issue about people had been defamed unnecessarily, and what came back from that comment, and I'm not going to sort of speak out of turn here, but was that certain people have been accused of defaming people when in fact it wasn't them and it's someone else, and so the story goes on. But here's the point. Between you, Pyrite, and me, I believe that we should put down a proposition at how this thing needs to be resolved. Yeah. I'm as I say, I'm going to try and organise a meeting. It's going to be after the 18th because I'm busy between now and then. But if you make yourself available, meanwhile, on Saturday, please attend. I'll send you the details, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a few things I'd like you to focus on because I think your work in the legal side is enormous, enormous value for us, but it's not being properly utilised.
No, I agree. That's one thing where I'm getting frustrated because I would like people to take the positives that I've achieved and learn from it, because it's the fact of people not learning is causing the misinformation to go around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, look, let you and I have a conversation next week. Now, I'm travelling next week, so it's going to be later on. Yes to Mel V. Let's have a Skype conversation. Let's try and find out a little bit more about where she's coming from, because she's come out of the blue from nowhere, hasn't she?
No, she's been on the scene for years. She's interviewed David Icke, Jim Carr, loads of people on the scene, and I mean, she to be honest with you, I think what it probably is she's just only recently stepped into this area of that we're in. That's what it is really. But yeah, no, she's massively followed, massively. So it would. This is why I say, I feel that even you two speaking together, it may be that you end up having some public discussion about it. Who knows? And then that might actually resolve a lot of problems.
Well, I've always been happy to go, on air live and say whatever, people ask me. I've got nothing to hide, as they say. But
yeah,
but you'd imagine we're all bloody MI5 agents somewhere down the line. Listen, I've got to go because I'm promised someone I'll talk to them at 11:30. So
yeah, no problem. I appreciate the time that you've spent actually.
I appreciate the time you've spent with me, Chris, and I really would appreciate it if you cut back on the negative, because it's not doing any of us any good, and it just causes a whole pile of anguish. And I mean, this guy Bada Bing, he's a clever guy, but he's so fucked up in that it's just extraordinary how many people get involved in stirring shit. We're trying to bloody solve a problem with the real baddies, and we're fighting amongst ourselves. It's so bloody annoying. Yeah,
and wouldn't it be wonderful if we could actually use this pivotal point to really, we could literally destroy the crown if we were all not destroy it, but retake it. That's what we need to do, is retake the crown.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, mate. Look.
Yep.
I'm going to say thanks for talking to me, and we'll talk next week, and I'll talk to Pyrite and organise a meeting via that area. And once again, all I can say to you is I'd appreciate if you keep this confidential, because people will misinterpret what's going on. I'd like to calm things down. I'd like to stop people having a go at each other. I think there's a lot of confusion, a lot of misinformation being bandied out there, and I do know that there's people trying to have a go at the British Constitution group, and that's the moment that is the only vehicle that we have got to bring people together and get them to take back control of this country. So let's get on with it.
Yeah.
All right, mate.
All right, take care. Thank you. Bye bye.
Cheers, Chris. Bye now.